Hello and welcome to Gold and Silver Assets. It's Sunday the 1st of December 2019. So gold and silver have both been behaving very resiliently. It's a bit like a jack in the box. Whenever it gets smashed down, it just pops straight back up again. So let's start by having a look at the gold US dollar chart on the daily scale. Just as a reminder, here in the red line we've got this very strong area of support which dates back from this 6-year area of consolidation that we've built up. And as I said before, I very much doubt that support area will be breached. So price has basically been consolidating over the last couple of months, and we seem to be in the middle of what looks like a possible descending wedge. Now, it's very difficult to know where this is going to go from here. There's a few possibilities, but one thing that we must remember is that if it does break out upwards, given the strength of this move preceding the consolidation, an upwards breakout from this wedge I would expect to be pretty strong. We'd be looking at something like a $200 to $300 move upwards. But we have to wait and see, of course. The market has to tell us what it wants to do. And of course, the question is, when will it break out from that wedge in the upwards direction? Let's have a closer look at the US dollar gold chart on the 4-hourly scale, and you can see here that the price movement is very steady and slow. There's not much volatility here, and right now we're slap bang in the middle of the wedge, and there's not really any convincing patterns to see here, and so it's difficult to know where we're going to go from here. But I would expect early in the next week we'd get some kind of indication of the direction that we're going. If we see a breach of this lower trend line, then I would expect further movement lower. And how low would we go if it did break out downwards? At the moment, if we look at the Fibonacci retracements, we're noodling around this 23.6% retracement area, and a downwards move would give us support from this area here, and so that would be around the 1400 area. If it were to fall further, then again this would actually bring us to that long-term support line, as well as the 50% retracement, and so that's at around the 1360 US dollar level. But of course, remember, it may just stay within this wedge. So another possibility is that we just move sideways and then we make a further move up. So really it's these trend lines that we need to be watching. And so this isn't a market that you'd want to trade in the short term at the moment, because it's very difficult to ascertain what's going on. And even looking at the foreign currencies, it doesn't really give us any indication of what's going on here. Let's have a look at silver. So this is silver in US dollars on the monthly scale, and we can see that we're in a very long-term upwards trend. Of course, it is quite a shallow trend, but nonetheless we are getting higher highs and lower lows here. Higher lows. We've also got this roughly 3-year downtrend line which has recently been broken over here. So overall, in the longer term, we can still be bullish on silver, and the only thing that would change our minds would be if we were to breach this red line here, which I very much doubt will happen. Having a closer look at silver in US dollars on the daily scale. So in red here we've got this strong area of support which has been that long-term trend line, which, as I said earlier, I don't think it's going to go below that. And it's difficult to know what's going on with this price action here. One possibility is that we've got this wedge forming, in which case probably the lowest price we're going to get is here at about 1650 before we get an upwards breakout. And again, based on the previous price action here, I would expect a significant move upwards if that were to happen. But another possibility is that we're actually got, if we draw a parallel line here, we've got a channel that's formed, in which case we would have a lower price expectation of around the 1550 level. And we do have some support previously around this level. I'm doubtful price would go lower, and the very, very lowest we'd be looking at would be 1450. But again, we're going to have to keep a close eye on these two trend lines here. Very difficult to trade because there's no clear patterns going on. So just watch those trend lines for both gold and silver. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.